Hi, welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to show you how I upcycled this glass bottle into a cute little decoration. It's got clay molding, it's got some texture from napkins, it's got the gold highlights. If you want to see how I did it, stay tuned. Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to work on this glass bottle. I'm trying to remember what was in it. I believe it was something, soy sauce or something like that. I look on Pinterest for my ideas and YouTube as well. And I kind of want to go something like this. I've got several molds pulled out to see what will fit, because this obviously isn't the same size bottle. But I have a plan, and that's what I start with. It doesn't always, lead where I want it to go, because I don't have the same molds or same clay they use or same size bottle. But I look for things that are different. I look for different textures, different color combinations, anything that'll catch my eye. And sometimes I'll combine them, several images together, just to get the look that I want. Now, since I want a little texture on this, I am going to cover it with a napkin. So I don't really need to be doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway, just to show, the seizure. Now, this is Goo Gone, and it removes all the adhesive stuff, but it does leave kind of a oily feel. So I've got some nail polish remover, which is this one. It happens to be 100% pure acetone. And I'll just find a spot that doesn't have the Goo Gone on it. And then I'll just clean up some of that greasiness, I guess you might call it. I also do this with the tin cans that I upcycle. And to get them nice and clean, it also takes the ink off, when they'll put the date stamp on it. Now this one's still moist inside, but I don't care, because I'm not working on the inside. So you can still see all the grease on my hands. Okay, I go through tons of paper towels. Just to get that last bit off, because I do want the glue and the napkins to adhere. So in this little container, I've got some just regular old white school glue, and this was Pen and Gear, probably got it at Walmart. I believe I filled it though with something else. Again, just regular school glue. And I got a brush over here. I'm going to use that to apply the glue on the bottle. Get rid of all the little bits and pieces I have here. Now the napkin I'm using is just one part of a regular napkin. Those decorative napkins that you'll find. I used to get them at Tuesday Morning, but when COVID hit, that store got closed down, and there goes all my supplies for junk journal making, and I used to get a lot of different stuff from them. So this doesn't matter how many pieces, just whatever is workable. And the more you crunch it up, the more texture you're going to get. Apologize for all that noise. But I like this glass because it's very easy to clean. And extra. You don't have to be neat and perfect. There we go. So let's start adding some more of that. You can glue, I kind of dab, not glue, but I dab, brush, you know, kind of pounce on it because I don't want to smooth it out flat. So it's kind of an up and down patting motion. That with the empty spot. I might press down more in some areas just to get, you know, the bubbles out. But once you do it one time, you'll get the hang of it. It's fun. It never turns out the same twice. Well, I need another little piece to go right there. There you go. So I'm going to speed this up. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I applied the clay. I'm using cornstarch to line the silicone molds. You can use talcum powder, baby powder. I have also used baby oil depending on the temperature in my house. Right now, this is spring, almost summer, and the cornstarch is working really well. I probably pounded in more than I need to, but I feel like my fingers don't press the clay in as well as they should. I just want to make sure it's really pressed in so that I get all the details once I remove the clay from the mold. You see me just pounding on it. I try to make it flat as possible. That's where you saw me using that spatula, just cutting off the excess clay. If you push and clean up the mold itself before you remove it, there's a lot less work you have to do later. You know, I use my X-Acto knife to cut off whatever excess pieces might be on there that I don't want on there. And then I wet my finger with some water and go around all the edges just to smooth them out so they're not too sharp and might have little bits of clay here and there. And this time I'm using a Tite Bond wood glue. I've used Gorilla Wood Glue. The only thing with wood glue is this color, it does not dry clear. It dries that color. So you have to really be careful you don't have any excess, you know, and smushed out along the sides. If you do, you want to clean that up. You can also use white glue. I'm thinking I've seen them use tacky glue. I also use some art glitter glue when it comes to the thin rope pieces, just because it has a nice thin nozzle and it just lets out a little bit, so I don't have a whole lot of excess glue to clean up. And that did work. That glue does hold the pieces onto whether I'm working on the bottle or a can. And I do want to lay this on its side just so that the pieces don't start sliding down. I never know if I have too much glue on there. And I've come back later to look and it slid a couple inches. So I'm learning to lay it on its side and let these pieces dry before I stand it up and add other pieces like to the back or around the bottom. And so I'm just using different molds. I bought these molds from Temu, T-E-M-U. I've gotten some from AliExpress and I've gotten some from Amazon Prime. They're all the same mold, just different prices. So just find what you can and what you can afford. I really like the way the angel wings come over that little frame. It just kind of makes it like it's coming out at you, you know. I guess that's three-dimensional. I just thought it was a cute idea when I saw the picture on Pinterest. Now these little bitty pieces, I was so scared of squishing them because I think these are probably the smallest pieces I've worked with, other than little leaves. And as always, I'm putting the extra clay that I'm not working with, I'll put it in some plastic wrap just to keep it moist. And I'll usually keep the large piece of clay in a container. I just don't want to open and close that a lot because then it will dry out. But keeping it, what you're working with, keeping that clay in that plastic wrap does keep it moist for a long time. And if it does start to dry out, then I usually give it a little mist of water just to get it moist again so I can work with it. Now this is probably going to be out of frame, but I was adding that little scroll piece to the bottom, and in the beginning you saw me kind of measuring where to put that little round frame. So I was lining up where the rope piece I wanted on the bottom and where this piece goes, and then you saw me mark a line with pencil, because if I just eyeballed it I would really be off and I'd have no room for everything else that I wanted to add. And I just have a slight idea of what I want to add. As I'm working on things, I find out how much room I have, and you know, you might alter my plan a bit, so you just kind of go with the flow. So again, I'm sorry I'm out of frame. Okay, so here I think I'm going to be putting the medallion. I keep calling it a medallion. This is a scroll. I'm going to start adding it to the top, and I let this piece dry so it doesn't slide, and then I turn it around and I add the next piece. And then I also added a rope, a little pearl shaped rope around the top of the bottle. And I'm cutting off the excess, and I'll do the same with everyone. I cut off the excess, I rub my finger around it with water to smooth it out, and then I apply the glue and I tap it on there, make sure it's got good contact. I might go over it again with the brush with water just to make sure the contact's really good and smooth out any edges. Okay, off camera, I went ahead and added this medallion there, and I added a little rope there, and it did separate quite a bit, so I'm going to try to patch that up a little bit with my air dry clay, just so that it's not so obvious. And it's on the back too, so that was good. That's why I try to put the meeting on the back. Meeting of the edges, is that a word? So it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to look good to you. Let's see. Now, just trying to add a little line, and then see if I can't make this be like one giant, what do you call this, a pearl kind of thing? Just take your time and have fun. So, not perfect, but it'll work. Okay, here I'm just making another rope mold to go around like the middle of the bottle, because I wanted to add 2 more little molds on each side, and they were like a little tassel mold, and it looked funny if I didn't have something else on the bottle. So that is what I'm doing. And this mold I know I got on Temu also, and here's where I'm starting to use the art glitter glue, because that's such a narrow mold or piece, and just putting little dots all along it. And I really like that because none of it squished out. I didn't have to clean up any extra. So for little pieces, I think I'm going to use that art glitter glue from now on. And I'm just trying to make a good connection, pressing against there gently to make good contact. And here's that little tassel mold. It's kind of a tassel you'll find on curtains. And I'd seen it and I've been wanting to use it. And like I said, it looked funny if I put it at the top of the bottle. And then it looked funny if I just had it just hanging there on the side. So putting that little rope around the middle there just gave it something to hang on to, so it's just not floating in midair looking silly. I didn't put any decorations on the back because nobody's going to see that. I'm just going to have it sitting on, you know, a bookcase. So I really wanted to add a lot of different molds just to make it really fancy and something pretty to look at. And you can just experiment with whatever molds you have. I went ahead and bought a whole bunch until I felt like I had a good enough stash. So now when I look at things, pictures, I don't try to buy the same thing that they use. I try to use what's in my stash because I've got like 3 little containers full of them and I'm running out of room to store all my craft supplies. Well, these were cheap enough, you know, a lot of them at Temu were less than $1, so I mean, you really can't go wrong. So it was really easy to build up my stash. So again, I'm just using little dots of glue and I'm putting it around the bottom. I'm trying to get a good connection. I don't think this, when it dried, I don't think I had a crack on the bottom one. I did on the top one. I'm just going over it with a wet brush, smoothing out edges, smearing the clay to make sure it's connecting well to the bottle. Okay, so I was thinking that I wanted to put some kind of topper on this because it looks so elegant and pretty. I thought it can use a topper. So I have these different size. So this is styrofoam ball. And I was trying to decide whether I wanted to like use this and, you know, just kind of wrap it around. But I'd only get like 2 on there because it's so big. So I decided to go for the leaves. And if I can do it right, it'll be just kind of, I'm hoping some kind of stylish wrap around. I wasn't sure how many I was going to need. So I made, well, I got 5 so far. And I think for my sanity, I'm going to try to draw a line so I know how far down to place the leaves. Okay, so here I'm just using some of that art glitter glue, smearing it on the leaf, pressing it onto that little styrofoam ball. Again, I wasn't sure how many pieces I would need to cover the ball. I could have layered the leaves and added even more, but I don't know if I got lazy or what, but 4 was good enough. And when I finished making it, I kind of said, this looks like those little pods, you know, on that movie Alien. Right when they burst and they spit out that little baby alien that attached to your face. But I wasn't going to change it. So again, I've seen where they use at least 10 leaves and just overlap them and make it look nice. I didn't want to push my luck. Okay, so all the clay has dried. I really, really like that. The way the leaves came out. I'm not going to push on them too much. They don't feel like they're brittle though, like that other clay that I was using. So I love all this texture. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go over everything with a coat of white gesso. And I've decided to use this color. It's Calypso Sky, Blue Calypso, 524, Folk Art, it says matte on it. I just think that'd be a pretty color. And then I'm going to do the highlights with the gold. I was just looking at the different things that I have on my bookshelf, and I haven't gotten anything with this color yet, so that's why I'm choosing this color for the background. Okay, so we're just gonna cover the whole thing. Did I shake this already? Shake it. I don't remember what brand gesso this is. It's just I bought it in, I don't think it was a gallon. It could have been a gallon jug, and I just poured into this as an old salsa jar. It's just easier for me to handle and maneuver. So I'm just going to get all the nooks and crannies. It may take 2 coats, I'm not sure, because we do want to put on a thin coat. We don't want to put on a really thick coat. You get lots of gloops and globs, and it messes up the detail. So it's better to go thin, plus that dries quicker. And I wipe off any pools of paint that I see. But if I can still see like the bottle through it once I'm done, then I'll probably give it another coat of gesso before I start applying the paint. That's just so that I don't have to apply 2 or 3 layers of paint. I'd rather apply 2 or 3 layers of the gesso, which is a primer. I imagine you can buy the primer. I don't know how expensive it is. It's been a while since I bought house products. But the primer, you know, that they sell in the paint section. I'm sure it does basically the same thing. It's just preparing your surface to receive the paint. Okie dokie, so I'm going to continue on and see you later. Okay, so put the first coat on and dried it. Seems like it's still wet in a few places, but I can still see the glass under here. So I know I need to put another coat on. I have left that before like that, and once I put the acrylic paint on, it took forever to cover it up. So I know to keep going, put another thin coat of gesso on, and that should do it. Sometimes it'll take 3 coats, you know, like here where the glass is really showing through because it's such a dark glass. I can't remember if this was a green one or not. So just know that it'll take a couple of thin coats between each drying. Okay, so as it shows, I'm using this folk art paint. You can use whatever acrylic paint you like. I just really like this color, and I don't have any pieces on my bookcase that have this color, so that's why I used it. In hindsight, I think I also would have liked having a burgundy or a maroon. I got this mulberry paint that's really pretty. So they used on that inspiration picture like a dark, like a phthalo blue kind of paint color, but I just wanted this light color. It's almost like a robin's egg blue, but I think it's darker because it's the turquoise. And I just gave it the 1 coat. I didn't need to give it 2 coats because I was able to cover up the glass with the 2 layers of the gesso. So here I'm just going over all the pieces with my brush. I have very little paint loaded on it, so I just want to catch the highlights. And then I'm going to use this varnish, the Varathane varnish. I'm going to give it 2 coats. And then after that second coat dries, I'm going to go over all the highlights again with this little wax paste, just to make it highlight more with that gold. And that's it. So thank you for watching and happy crafting.